Good evening. I'm Jason Leosatis. This is my show Outside the Box. There's a slight wiggle on my camera. I don't know why. I think it's the heat here in Totnes this evening. Welcome to the show, everybody. I've got some fantastic guests on tonight, as always. Really excited tonight because who I've got in is two local people, Catherine Bauer, Barry McCulloch, who are actually growing hemp here on a farm in Totnes. I just want to bring them in and say hello before I have a quick rant. Thank you, Catherine and Barry, for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
It's an absolute joy. I'm not joking. I'm always excited and enthusiastic on my shows, but particularly because you're here. We're here in Totnes. And, Barry and Catherine, I just want to say, I always say this before we start, thank you so much for what you're doing. If people don't know a lot about hemp, they will in a minute, because you're going to expound on the actual emergency, I would say, that we grow more hemp and literally try and cover the planet in it. And if we get rid of all the cows and grow hemp, we'd have a great planet, It's an amazing, exciting time. And when I was told about you, I was absolutely amazed. I thought, incredible, because I remember Gavin. It's okay to mention Gavin. Gavin was doing this a while ago, and I've known that people have been trying to do this more locally. And I just want to say thank you very much for your absolute determination, and you keep going this, if you like, to keep this going, because I was down there this morning, and before we carry on, I do want to flash a picture of myself lying in that field. I promise I didn't disturb any hemp. Here I am, there I am, lying there amongst it all. It's only small at the moment. There it is again still. And it was just an astonishing experience to go down there. So, Catherine, I just have a quick rant, really. The emergency to grow hemp on the planet it's huge, and people have forgotten about it, and we're going to go into that in detail here with Catherine and Barry. Tell us what's going on, Catherine and Barry. You've got 20 acres at the moment. It's very exciting. Firstly, I wanted to say to everyone, sorry to keep ranting about this, we need this machine. We're going to do a crowdfund. We're doing a crowdfunding tonight. We're going to be promoting the crowdfunding tonight. And the crowdfunding link is underneath Catherine and Barry's name. Please donate to that. There's money coming in already, and there's a lot of money needed to get that machine to harvest this crop more easily. And the quicker we can do it, the quicker we can grow some more. So the urgency is huge. It could save the planet. This is how serious hemp is. And I've been looking into hemp more and more and more these last couple of years, and it's so exciting what hemp can do, and of course the medicinal properties of it as well. So I'm just going to bring you both in. I'll ask you questions afterwards, obviously, but just roll away quick. Tell us how important hemp is on this planet right now, that actually is in an emergency situation. Thank you, Catherine and Barry, for your fantastic work. Thank you, and for being you, right?
Thanks.
Go on. Yeah, you're on. Go for it. Where did it start, Barry? What started you? What created the emergency in your mind that you've just got to start growing hemp? When did you start finding out about it? Looking at the medicinal side of it, the clothing, the rope, everything. What would it do for this planet?
Personally, I found out about hemp a long time ago, like 10 years ago.
Right.
Saw some infographics of hemp and all the materials you can get, raw materials from it, all the products you can get from all those raw materials, and that was really helpful. It kind of put it into context for me, and the scope of hemp and the scope of the uses. But that kind of, I didn't feel in a place where I could do something about that. So it was in my awareness. It was there, and it's only in the last 2-3 years where that's resurfaced again. And I met Gavin and I met Catherine, and and then together we had the resources and the ability to actually put that into practice, and and actually go through the motions of getting a hemp license to grow. That's quite something to do, and then all the other logistics involved, finding seed, finding land. So it all came together really nicely. It was quite amazing. It just all slotted in, and here we are. We have 20 acres, Dartington Estate, which is phenomenal, with some really exciting prospects and projects for this year, for this crop. And it just keeps expanding.
It does.
And we're running to keep up. Yeah.
Well, listen, but like, I want to let you roll on this, but just to jump in and say, it has to expand, Catherine and Barry. Do you know why? Because something that's so good as hemp, and something that's so beautiful and so natural and so brilliant for health and for the planet, has to expand. The truth sort of has to come out, and always does. If something's good and it's sometimes being held back, then it will burst through, thanks to people like you. So you're the magicians, actually, that are bringing this through. And when you mentioned the land, I just wanted to mention John Perkin, a lovely man who's over at Parsonage Farm in Dartington. I actually met him today again. I love seeing him. He's the most wonderful human being. And just a big thanks and a shout out to John over there, and go over and see what he's doing there. He's a wonderful man, doing some wonderful things over at that farm, and really creating miracles as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been amazing, and really, he's got a real vision for farmers as well, because he's really willing to look at hemp, and there's still a little bit of a stigma, and people kind of still wondering, they're still associating it with drugs and that sort of thing, but actually, he's really got it, John. So it's pretty amazing what he's a real can-do person. He's really helping us with it also. It's incredible. And I think the thing about hemp is you can make so many things from it. You can use all the different parts of the plant to make the most incredible things, and they're all eco-friendly, they're all sustainable, and they're all amazing for the planet, and yet we're not using it. It's not here. So
sorry to jump in. And is it also true that someone told me today you do absolutely not need pesticides on hemp?
No, it's incredible. I mean, our experience is, you're in a field of hemp. There's no insects on the plant at all.
Wow,
it's amazing, and that's because of the
the hemp, when it develops the trichomes on the flowers and the leaves when it's more mature. That's actually it's a repellent to pretty much all insects. That's its own repellent that it produces, as well as a sunscreen for itself. It just so happens that those trichomes contain all the cannabinoids that are quite phenomenal to our human biology. So yeah, the interrelationship is quite amazing.
Okay, so let's dispel the myth here and now that you walk into that field and suddenly you're stoned and you're a drug addict. I mean, I've never heard such an amazing load of hogwash. You can eat. I went in one of the other fields. I was eating handfuls of it, before, and I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
I was juicing it. So let's go through some of the benefits here before at the outset here. What is it good for? I mean, people are saying, okay, hang on, let me just put a caveat in here, right? Hang on, let me just get my big mug up on the face. Listen, people are saying that I went to a conference that was closed down here, and someone's going to almost get thrown in prison because there's a early 1930-something law that says if you say that you can cure cancer with anything else other than, chemotherapy or radiotherapy, or drugs, you can be thrown in prison. And that is, I wonder why that is. I wonder why. I mean, who's profiting the most from those things? So go on, talk me through some of the benefits of hemp. What's it do with health? I don't say it cures cancer, or you'll probably be thrown in prison, yeah. But I've had people on the show that have been cured from cancer from hemp, yeah. But so go on, give us some of the amazing benefits to health first. Let's cover health.
I would say, I mean, there's plenty of medical
proof
and studies. If you go to if you look on the internet and look in PubMed or something, I think it's called. There's thousands of studies that have already been done, particular on the action of the cannabinoids, THC specifically, the action of that on cancer cells. There's a very direct action on that. That you can research for yourself. CBD has a different kind of action. So these things are known about, and yeah, it's in terms of the general health. Cannabinoids are kind of mimicking our own natural cannabinoids that we produce in our body. So to actually have a plant in the natural kingdom that produces compounds that are similar to the compounds that our own bodies produce, that keep us in balance, is quite phenomenal. And if we're out of balance, we can literally consume this plant and these cannabinoids, and they will function the same way as our own cannabinoids that our body produces in our endocannabinoid system, which regulates pretty much all other systems to maintain homeostasis. So to have a plant that's in our environment that can do that is quite phenomenal.
It's a miracle, actually. I know people say I'm a little bit over enthused, but I will just jump in and say it's a miracle just for forget cancer, but just for overall health and balance in the body with cells. It's a miracle that is, I have to say, is for the most part has been held down by the big drug companies. I'll say it. I want you to say it. I'll say it. Yeah, because I've done programs on drug companies and I've always give this horrible vision that if I had the CEO of the greatest drug company in the world that's making the most money out of disease, and really put them on a truth drug and said, do you really, really honestly want people to still have cancer and be ill? What would they say? What would they say? There's huge money being made out of it, and I'm sick of it, and I think everyone's sick of it. The moment I put that stuff under my tongue, the hemp oil, I seem to feel just better somehow. It goes into your bloodstream. And a guy here, Robert in Totnes, I know him, and he had a cancerous thing on his face, and they were going to cut it off. Oh no, he said, and he kept putting the oil on there, and it's gone. It's disappeared. Carry on. Sorry, I jumped in. Sorry.
There's been a lot of publicity about CBD recently, hasn't there? In the papers, it's actually starting to get into people's consciousness.
Right.
But it's still, it's still kind of, you're not allowed to make it in this country and this and that and the other. And it's just, the whole thing is just ridiculous.
Right.
I think even the World Health Organization has said that it can't harm you and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
There's no kind of bad side effects. And yet it's still, it's still not something that you're allowed to use, or that's easily kind of available, that sort of thing. So the whole thing is crazy. But yeah, you're right. You can really feel the health benefits when you're taking it, and I've experienced that, and it's very, very noticeable.
Yeah.
With cannabinoids, the highest amount of cannabinoids in the human body is actually in mother's breast milk.
Wow.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So when you say cannabinoids, for people what is a cannabinoid? What is it?
It's a cannabinoid is a chemical compound that our bodies produce.
Right. Naturally, Yeah.
Yeah. And our cannabinoid system, which is a system within our body, it uses those cannabinoids in terms of lock and keys and to stimulate chemical responses and to switch them off. It does that and uses those cannabinoids to initiate processes and switch them off to maintain a balance. And when through diet, lifestyle, whatever, your body is not producing enough cannabinoids, then your body can't maintain that homeostasis, that balance. So systems start to overcompensate or can't function properly, and your system has a knock-on effect and it creates an imbalance, which then eventually comes out as a disease or ailment of some kind. So yeah, cannabinoids are those sort of compounds in our body. Our body produces them.
Omegas, isn't it?
And yeah, it's actually, your body uses omega oils, 3, 6, and 9, in the process of creating these cannabinoids, these endocannabinoids within the body cannabinoids. So it's interesting that the hemp plant seed has the perfect ratio of omega fatty acids for the human body, the perfect ratio of 3, 6, and 9 that our body would need. So this plant kind of is made for us to maintain balance.
It's miraculous.
Within our body, and I feel within our consciousness, if you use it in the right way. So yeah, again, the miraculousness just keeps extending, really. And we're only on the topic of health.
Say it again. What was that?
On the topic of health.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just keeps on giving.
Yeah, and I'll jump in again and say, you know, if I was speaking to, and there's nothing wrong with anyone smoking ganja. Look, who's beating each other up in pubs with ganja? Have you ever seen anyone picking a fight on ganja? Now, we're not going to relate the two here, because we will relate the two, but we're not going to. What I want the audience to see here is I'm not speaking to two people that are lying on the couch watching telly and swigging Pepsi and eating loads of chocolate and smoking ganja, right? You know, these are really healthy people, you know, and I want to make that distinction here, you know, because most people, when they hear the word hemp, it's like, oh God, everyone's just getting stoned. You can't get stoned from this stuff. I mean, I've eaten handfuls of it. I've juiced handfuls of it. So, you know, there is a really big distinction between the two, isn't there? And we have to make that, you know, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, in this country, to get a license, you have to grow EU approved hemp seeds that have less than 0.2% THC, which is the psychoactive part of, you know, marijuana. So that's the big distinction. Basically, you just cannot. You can smoke the whole field. You can go and smoke 20 acres, and nothing will happen. You might feel a bit take you a long time.
Yeah.
But.
Okay. Here's a question for you, and I'm not here to try and extract sort of you know, anything out of you that you don't want to say. I did a great conference in Dartington Hall. We were packed out. The place was packed with the beautiful Vandana Shiva, the genetically GMO lady, the little beautiful Indian lady. My gosh, she's a beautiful soul, so powerful. And she was saying, quite frankly, that the big Monsanto companies who've changed their names to something else now, they want full spectrum dominance of nature. They've said it themselves. It's in their papers. We want to dominate every single plant and tree and blade of grass on the planet, which actually, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, guys. This is the truth. You can read it yourself, almost. And that means that they would also then be dominating us, because we're eating all that stuff. So where does the patent thing stop? What I want to ask you is there a danger of Monsanto and these companies coming flooding in now? I'm worried when I see it in the papers a little bit, because I'm thinking, oh, they're setting the public up to say no, and we'll make it GMO. How protected is it from being GMO?
Question.
I don't know. You know, don't say anything that's going to get you in trouble. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But I just want to know how protected is it? You know, can we stop it becoming, you know, less only GMO? You know what I'm trying to say? Because it doesn't need glyphosate. It doesn't need pesticides.
It doesn't need pesticides, and I think that's the amazing thing with hemp. You don't need to alter it. There are certain strains that are bred for fiber, because you want a tall stem. There are certain strains that are bred for seed, because you want a bigger yield of seed. But you don't really need to alter it drastically in terms of GMO, in terms of really altering the DNA to get a bigger yield. That's not really necessary. It doesn't need pesticides. It doesn't need altering. Just in itself, it's abundant and just provides.
And the speed? Sorry, Barry, go on. Sorry, I jumped in. What were you going to say?
You can just combine the best qualities of certain strains to get a good fiber, to get a good seed, and to get a good flower. So it doesn't need that sort of interference that other products. So I think with that, it's a threat.
I like that. Yeah, thank you.
It's difficult to contain. It's difficult to control, because anybody can grow it in their back garden very easily, and anybody can make a very simple and effective medicine in their own home, from their own plant in their garden.
And this is hemp, not cannabis, that's going to get you stoned, just hemp.
Just hemp.
I mean, it's a cannabis plant. It's the cannabis plant.
I don't like to make. There is an important education distinction to be made.
Yep.
The definition of hemp is a strain of cannabis that has less than 0.2% THC. That's the definition of hemp. All the strains of cannabis with less than 0.2% are called hemp. And that's what the EU approves, these certain strains, and that's what we can grow for industrial purposes.
And
there's many, many other strains that have more than 0.2% THC. And so there are many, many, many strains.
See, so in other words, if I was to grow hemp in my back garden now, you know, the non-getting you stoned stuff, so what's the big deal if they don't want me to get stoned on hemp? So would it be illegal for me to grow hemp in my back garden now?
You do need a license from the Home Office, which is quite a process to actually grow any plant at all, even though it's EU approved seed of hemp.
My God, Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, but this country is so behind the curve. I mean,
Sure.
even in America, right this minute, they're passing a bill that is going to make hemp. Well, hopefully they're going to get. They've got most of the way through so far, but it's going to make hemp take it off the prohibited substances, controlled substances list, so that farmers will be able to just use it and grow it, and it's a normal thing, which is what it always used to be in the past. It was we used to grow it everywhere in this country. In fact, it was illegal not to grow it in this country.
Wow.
We've got villages down the road, like we've got Little Hempston down the road.
Hemp. Hang on, Little Hemp.
Little Hempston,
Right? Yeah.
We've got Hemel Hempstead. We've got Hampshire, which was Hampshire. All these things, and it used to be in our culture. It was in our consciousness, and we wouldn't have gone out and
wouldn't have done without it.
Yeah, we wouldn't have gone out and conquered the world without hemp, because we needed it for sales, we needed it for the rope, we needed the rigging, and we used it for everything. So yeah, it's crazy that this country is so behind the curve now.
Well, I'll jump. I keep jumping in. I hope you don't mind, but I got to jump in and put my £10 worth in. I'll jump in and say, you said it's a shame, right? It's a diabolical liberty, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I'll do the shouting. It's a diabolical liberty, and I'll say it right now. How dare you? How dare you? Whoever you are out there, tell us we can't grow hemp. How dare you? It's different if you're all running around smashing windows when you're growing hemp. It doesn't get you stoned. It's a vital thing for the planet to have now, or we're in massive trouble, right? I've got to ask. Someone actually asked me to ask you this, okay? And don't answer it if you don't want to, because it's a tiny bit controversial. Where are we? Let's have a look. I can't. I'll have to guess it because they mentioned it earlier. They said that it was Queen Elizabeth or Queen Victoria. There was some point where she had to choose between cotton and hemp. Apparently, she was taking cannabis herself for pain. And do you know anything about that? There was some fork in the road. Do you know anything about that? In other words, what I want to say to you is, you were saying it was really, really, really prosperous and everyone was excited about. What stopped it? What came out? Because what I think. That the evil drug companies, and this is me saying it, not Catherine and Barry.
No, we're totally in agreement with you.
Okay, all right. I just want to cover you a bit. But the evil drug companies wanted to take over, and now what worries me is the evil companies want to take over with hemp as well, and they'll just come flooding in and grow their own and shove everyone else out. But what was the turning point? Is there one? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
There was, when it was first demonized in the 1920s and 30s.
Yeah.
The oil industry was coming up.
Right.
The steel industry was coming up.
Did you say steam? Oil and steam, yeah?
The steel. But,
Steel.
The synthetic fibers industry was coming up as well.
Okay.
It's made from oil. So there was a lot of hemp fabric being used. Henry Ford had started making hemp biocomposite for the bodies of cars. He started using hemp diesel. So the industry was huge, but crude oil coming up, and then synthetic fibers coming from that, and then the plastics coming from that, they kind of demonized hemp so they could monopolize those industries, and those industries are huge. When our world now runs on crude oil, everything we do, everything we have comes back to that, whereas literally everything we have could have come back from hemp. The bodies of our car, the fuel our car drives on, our clothes, or our paper. Our paper. That's crazy. All of our plastics. The plastics from hemp now is getting really quite well developed. That just needs more supply and more development. Already you can buy 3D filament and print off 3D plastics made out of hemp, which is as strong as normal plastic but also biodegradable. So can you imagine all of our plastics being made from hemp that's just biodegradable? The consequences of that is huge. And if we had biodiesel made from hemp, and the bodies of our car are made from hemp, stronger than steel, but also reusable and biodegradable and non-harmful. So the consequences and the impact of that is it's hard to even fathom.
And you get a crop in 3 months. You know, with the paper, I think they had a big study, 1939 was it, or something like that, or I can't remember the date, but in the 30s they predicted that actually 94% of paper would come from hemp.
Yeah.
But of course, which is totally feasible because it grows much quicker than trees. It's much more sustainable, obviously, and you can get a crop in 3 months.
Yeah.
So actually, if they hadn't done that demonizing, our whole, you know, all the trees that we use for paper, etc., the whole world would look completely different. Yeah. It's amazing when you actually think about it. And yet now people walking past our field, and they have no idea what's in there. They're not even clocking it. I know when the plants get much bigger, they probably will, but it's not in our consciousness, and that's only a couple of generations, really.
It's 70 years.
Yeah, 70 years.
The hardline demonization. Yeah.
Amazing the job that they did with demonizing that. It's
and yet
shocking.
We've used it profusely for hundreds of years before that, and then back into thousands of years in different cultures.
Yeah.
So very well known, very commonplace. Yeah.
And elsewhere in the world, they didn't stop doing that. I mean, they've been growing it in China for years and years.
China hasn't stopped. Yeah.
Eastern Europe, it's carried on. Yeah. You know.
Wow, my God, alive! You know.
Crazy stuff.
Wow, it's just I'm just it's so blooming fantastic to speak to you both. Thank you so much. And again, I know I keep going on about this, but thanks, Catherine and Barry. Thank you for being you. You know, thank you for rising up to the call, the conscience. And that's what this show's about, is re-establishing ethics, morals, empathy, love, truth. Oh my God, all those things that seem so nuts, you know? All those things that we've been robbed of, God damn it, you know? Yeah. And I'm telling you, the table's turning on. I just wrote those couple of things just quickly down, you know. Hemp was demonized. Hemp was demonized. Yeah. Demonized by demonic corporations, hell-bent on profit, and I've got to say, total control of humanity, and that's what it's all about. And money, profit comes before humanity's existence. Literally, that's where we're going. We're going over a cliff. We've got a trajectory of madness and profit, plastics that are going over a cliff. And you know, people like you will be seen as like Martin Luther Kings. I know you will, you know, as the people who are turning that ship. You know, it's like a ship with psychotic captains on, I've said before. And they're just going along, and the people on the ship are shouting, stop, we can see the future. You're killing us. You're killing our grandchildren. You're killing the people who haven't been born yet. What are you doing? And the captains are just like that madman on Jaws on that film, just grinning and it's like, no, prophet, keep shoveling the boilers, shut up down there. But what I'm having a right rant, but what humans don't realize, what we've got to remember, relocate, relegare, remember, is that humans are in total control. We are the engine of the ship of change. And if we just say, no, we want hemp, then guess what? I believe we're at a fork in the road. We really are. Can you, so much to talk about, but can you cover some of the, you've covered it a little bit, but some of the uses of hemp, You know, I'd like to talk more about the audacity of those cheeky people who say that we can't use hemp. I can't grow hemp in my garden if I don't want to. If I want to, and there's going to be helicopters over my house. What the hell's going? You know, something that's going to heal me and my human family, and you're telling me I can't use it?
Outrageous.
Go on. It's outrageous, Catherine.
I mean, they actually tried to ban CBD basically in this country. I think that was last year. Ban
CBD hemp oil. You know, the stuff I take, right?
Yeah, but actually there was an outcry, and they banned it for a short while, but then they brought it back in, but as a food. So you know, it can't be regarded as a medicine. It needs to be called a food.
Oh, so you can't even call it a medicine, Catherine?
No, you can't make any claims.
No.
You
what?
No, absolutely not.
You mean, you know why, don't you? Because we're not supposed to be well. They want us sick and tired, so we're taking those drugs and they're killing us, for God's sake. Sorry, everybody, I got to calm down. But this, as you can see, is a big... I very rarely get this hyped up on my show. I'll tell you, I'm really enjoying it. No, what a diabolical chronicle liberty, you know, and go through the things. Okay, so it's we can't say medicine. Can we say healer? Can we say...
It's food is our medicine. That's what we can say.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, food is our medicine. Okay, so it does help us. Go on.
You want food in a concentrated form, which is what medicine is, then concentrate your food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then that'll be your food, but in a concentrated form.
Apart from being a medicinal miracle, which is what it is, there's no doubt about that. And there's people dying of cancer that could be cured. I'll say it here: they could be cured from this, and they're not allowed to be. What audacity! Your days are numbered, my friends, and it's over, right? But I'll just have a little rant. But apart from that, how about the nutritional? You know, you said it rebalances the cannabinoids, but actually, nutrition from the leaf. What's that like? You know, what is there a lot of nutritional elements to it as well? You know,
it's got a good vitamin and mineral profile. It's a rich green leafy plant. All the vitamins and minerals. It's got a good balance of those.
And the oil from the seed is amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So it's just on the green leafy side. It's great. We eat the leaf, and it's great for you. It's just got other levels to it in terms of cannabinoids and the terpenes as well, which are a more subtle layer that affect the human body in terms of mood and a more subtle level. And on top of that, you've got flavonoids, which is only just starting to be researched a bit more now, and that has a different impact on the body as well. So all of that together makes quite an impact on the body, and it's something that's almost made for our biology.
It is, totally fits us. Amazing.
I mean, to say it's made for our biology, it's almost like, you know, it's like a healing coat that you can put on, and you're not being allowed to put it on. Allowed to put it on? Oh my God, allowed? You know.
The thing is, Jason, that actually it's not the plant. The actual consciousness of the plant it actually matches what you're talking about. It matches the love and the you know, all those things that human beings actually naturally are, the kind of kindness, compassion. There's something about the consciousness of the plant, the freedom as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it was banned as well, even though probably, you know, unconsciously to some extent. But it's totally different from that system that you're talking about, which is the control, the, you know, try and make loads of money out of everything, you know, get people ill, all that sort of stuff. So it's really interesting to have that, the consciousness, to work with that consciousness of the plant, and we just feel like we're being led by it. That you know, we're kind of here. We're just you know, being pushed along by and that's amazing.
Yeah, we're just willing, and it actually just pushes you along.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's rolling on. Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Well, I'll just say I want to just have a quick rant about you know. I know, and I don't really like to talk about the you know, marijuana. You know, oh my God, everyone's getting stoned. You know, we're not talking about that here, but I just want to touch on it slightly because it is demonized. Even though it doesn't get you stoned, although you can get other stuff that gets you stoned. But I just want to put this little thing in. You know, I walk around here in the night. They're not so bad in Tottenham. There's people beating the living daylight out of them. Some guy kicked a window in the other night. People turn into Superman with booze. And I used to, when I used to get drunk and go out, you know. And you know, did Bob Marley and those people have a point? You know, Bob Marley, he was demonized, and his songs were about love and peace. And I know he used to smoke a lot of the stuff that did get you stoned. But also, it seems to me that people who do smoke a little bit of something or other, they seem nicer people, actually. And they seem really cool, and they seem really loving, you know. They're not beating everyone up, and they're not destroying their liver. Okay, I know smoke's bad for the lungs generally, but there's other ways they can eat it, I think, can't they? You know, all the people I know that smoke stuff, I'd much rather see a world smoking ganja than pissed every night, because the biggest epidemic, and I'll demonize something, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest demon now in the world is booze, right? Most people I know are getting drunk every night, or at least having half a bottle or a bottle of wine, and they're trapped on it like heroin. It's one of the worst heroin addictions on the planet, right? I know someone who came off crack cocaine and heroin, and he can't get off booze, you know. And I was horribly addicted to booze myself. I actually went and did ayahuasca, which I can also highly recommend to people. Hey?
Which is another natural plant medicine.
Another natural plant medicine. Thank you, Barry. It is. I'll tell you what, it was a night of hell for me. I just got to say, because I was dragged through the coals, because I was like, right, Jason, get to your knees, brother, and you're going to be stripped to the bone. And I needed that death of myself to begin again. You know, Barry. And it was great for me. Ayahuasca was great. Now, of course, ayahuasca's not allowed. It's demonized. You know why? Because it wakes people up and snaps people out of their amnesia and makes them magicians again, and it puts them back in touch with themselves. Now, that's the last thing you want to do to your human flock of sheep when you're herding and farming them like a farmer. Thank you very much. Sorry to be so outspoken about it, but that's true. We're farmed like animals, and the last thing they want is people to be healthy, conscious, and strong, and take their power back. But give us a few things about, like you've told us about the health benefits. Tell us about other things it can be used with. Ultimately, what would the world look like if the hemp was rolled out? Because it only takes 3 weeks to grow. Like you said, my God, Barry, this could happen really quick.
Yeah.
What would it look like? Tell us what would happen. You know, if hemp was grown on a massive scale, now it can be used for clothes, right?
Yeah, and what about all the huge, horrendous publicity about all the plastics in the seas and things?
Yeah.
That if hemp had been kept in our fields, that wouldn't have happened these days. No, we just wouldn't have that. It would look completely different. It would look a completely different planet. You just wouldn't have that, because the hemp plastics are non-toxic. They're
biodegradable.
Yeah,
biodegradable. And if we'd had a few decades of developing that technology
Absolutely.
and that use, all of our plastics now could be made from a biodegradable plastic from a sustainable source.
It's made from the cellulose in the plant. So
I mean, the technology that we would have developed in the last few decades to produce everything that we do produce now from plastic, that would have just been advanced and developed. So everything we have now made from plastic, which is useful, could then be biodegradable and really easily biodegraded through different systems we would have developed, and that would have just been a natural, beautiful cycle. You finish using something, you take it somewhere, and it's just really easily broken down with some enzymes or a nice process, and that can then go on to fuel something else.
And you're not using loads of chemicals to actually produce. You don't need to kind of do that with the hemp.
And a lot of our land would be lacking those chemicals that we use for other crops. So the whole implications is huge. And then the paper issue, like Catherine mentioned before, all of our paper, literally all of it, toilet paper to printing paper to everything, can be made from hemp. Our toilet paper, just that, we can make from hemp very easily. And if you look at the scale of how that much is used and the trees that have to go into just producing that, it's quite phenomenal. And if you look at how much of the world forests we've taken out, if you put that back, what does the world look like?
Yeah.
And here's a quick question. While you're on the subject, here's a quick question. Is there enough? Because this, I'm just kind of guess what people would be saying. Oh, there wouldn't be enough. You'd never grow enough hemp. Would there be enough hemp grown to save the planet, or would you have to get rid of the cows and people go more vegetarian?
Just on the trees alone issue for paper, trees, that a crop might take 20 years to grow, 15, 20 years to grow. You can grow that same amount of pulp for paper in a few crops of hemp, which is, if that's growing around the world on a continuous cycle basis, you can grow that in a few months to a year, the same amount of actual pulp. And the biomass in a field of hemp is huge. It's huge. So you're getting that biomass growing very quickly.
What do you mean biomass? Sorry to jump in, because people might not know.
Plant material.
Right.
And the cellulose that you might get out of a 20-acre field of hemp. It's a huge amount of actually plant material, the bio-organic mass. The whole stalk, it's a huge amount per acreage. So the amount of pulp then you can produce and the amount of paper then you can produce it's a substantial amount.
And that's grown without pesticides, without fertilizers, any of those things. So just totally natural.
So no wonder the blooming pesticide companies like you know who, Monsanto, or whatever they're called now, Bayer or whatever they are. No wonder they've got the horrors about this stuff, and they're throwing people in prison willy nilly who are going to do anything about it, because it'll put them out of business. What are they going to do? Those monsters who know. There was that lovely video that someone said, some CEO or someone was saying glyphosate's so safe, you know. And the guy who was interviewing him said, well, yeah, but the thing is, you know, someone said it was so safe you could even drink it. He said, yes, you can. So he said, well, here's a glass of it, actually. Would you like to drink some? He said, no, you're being ridiculous, you know. It's like, but no, they'd go out of business overnight. But with the, quick question. Follow the money, isn't it always? Follow the money. Could people make enough money out of hemp? Because it's always about money. I'm sorry to say, but generally this world is ruled by money. It's like a global casino mental asylum, ladies and gentlemen, yeah? That's become normal, right? That's become normal. So what would happen with the money side of it? How much profit could be made from hemp? Not that that's why people would be doing it, but just for people who might ask that question.
I think it's very viable, for sure, even on a small scale. And that's one of the things that we're doing with our project is one of our main things is to actually show that you can farm hemp on a small scale and it's viable, you know. So you might not make millions out of it, but you can. And how much money do you actually need? You know, that's half the problem with the world, is everyone's so greedy. They're just stepping on everyone else to try and get as much money as they can. But yeah, it is really viable on a smaller scale, and we want to show that with this project.
And there are so many different markets, so many different uses, and so many different markets for just producing raw material.
Talk about that. Yeah, go on, say something about that. Yeah.
All the time. I mean, the building material market is opening up.
That's
People
massive.
are getting to understand the benefit of the building material, which is just the inner hemp stalk mixed with lime and water. It makes an amazing wall, like a concrete type material called Hempcrete. It's breathable. It's much more healthy to live in. Regulates humidity, so especially in this country,
isn't it?
antibacterial. Yeah. So it reduces the fungal spores in a house, the fungal growth in a house. It's a much healthier environment to live in. So I mean, now we're getting into the building subject. That's health producing and sustaining in itself. Just the building material.
Roofs.
You can create roofs as well and floors. Yeah.
The thing I like is that even if you've got an existing house, you can actually put hemp plaster over it. So then you're having the benefits of the hemp. Yeah. Obviously, without having to knock your house down, you can replaster it with hemp. So you've got something breathable, natural, antifungal, and everything that Barry just said. It's just I think I love it. It's amazing.
Oh my God! I mean, I'm not joking. It's blowing me away. This. I mean, go on.
The whole building industry is a huge market for that.
Yeah.
For renovating older buildings, dam proofing, and for new builds, people who want to live in a healthy environment and don't want to contribute to the unsustainable way we build now. So there's a huge market for that. So all that needs raw material, all that needs plants growing, all that needs someone to grow them. And that just the building industry needs to expand much, much more. So in terms of having plants and having processes and then raw materials and having markets to sell that's only going to increase. And it's only just getting started.
And there are a lot of natural green builders around now, especially in this area, but there's lots of people. And at the moment, they're buying their raw materials from France and China.
Yeah.
So we want to supply them with raw materials from this country.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Go on. You were saying, buddy. Carry on.
Which comes to our crowdfunding campaign, really, is the processing facility in this country is a bit limited in terms of taking the stalk and separating the stalk from the outer fiber and the inner hurd, which is used for the building material. Separating those two out is a process called decorticating. The machinery used to do that is usually quite large, quite expensive, out of the reach of smaller growers, and it's not widely available in this country. And to transport tons of it halfway across the country, it just becomes uneconomical, and then it's just not done. And so the industry doesn't move forward. So we're trying to crowdfund at the moment to get a machine, a smaller scale machine that can be used for small scale growers, that's also transportable, a decorticating machine where we can actually produce hemp fiber as well as the hemp in a herd, and have that raw material to then actually produce, to sell as it is, or produce follow-on products, and actually start to make that available for people to use, and and do that on a small scale, make sure that works, and have that model for other people to follow, and also have this decorticator machine for other hemp growers that we know to actually make use of their stalk, which they don't make use of enough. And we have some exciting projects that have come up.
I mean, we're talking to different people, including transition homes, where they've got an eco build which they've got planning permission for. They're doing it with straw bale, but there's a possibility that they might want to use our building, our building material for the plaster for those homes, which is amazing because it's right there on the estate, so it's totally local, which is what we want. We want to make everything local, and then also there's another possibility that there's going to be a hemp plastics, place, factory around here. So
Locally,
so hopefully we're going to be able to supply that, which is really, these are the sort of things that we need to be doing with hemp. So it's exciting,
Well, no, I mean, you can't do that because I need it all for my green smoothies to stay young looking like this, Catherine, yeah? Look at me. I'm 75 years old. Look at me. What an advert, yeah? I'm not joking. Well, come on. No, I'm joking, really. This costs about 100 grand. You don't get this cheap, guys, But I'm turning into a comedian again now. But no, look, let's say this as well. I want to just say about this. So, in other words, let's get it straight. The demand will predict the supply, right? Yeah?
I think it's a bit of both.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I think you need the supply in order to drive the processes to then make it available, and then the education about that, and then people, the more they use it, the more they see the benefit, and then they'll share that, and then the more people who live in a hemp house will share the benefit, and then the demand will grow. So probably a bit of both.
Yeah, and what I want to also say, because I have got this I do tend to rant a little bit over the top about this, but I do enjoy it, and I'm going to say it right here. Everybody, we are the midwives of the future. And I say, oh God, here he goes again. He's going to do that old trick again. But we are the midwives of the future as people here and now. And what we do now is not only going to affect us. Let's forget about us. How about the future? How about your grandchildren? If you haven't got any grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and if you haven't got any grandchildren or children, I'm still not going to let you off the hook, guys. There's people who haven't been born yet who are relying on you now, you listening to this and us, to create a planet for them to be sustainable. So it's an obligation, and it's, and there's an old saying my dad told me, it was a lovely old saying, don't wonder how to do it, then wonder how you did it, and I live,
That's great. I get that. I really get that.
Yeah, you feel like that.
You get that because you're doing it. You two are amazing. You're on the screen now. I'm telling you, I'm shouting about you. You two are amazing. You actually are doing that. You're not wondering how to do it. You're doing it, then wondering how to do it. Now, imagine all those people years ago say, I mean, I was in one of those fields with Gavin. What's that? Gavin, what's his name? Gavin, what's his name? Who? Whelan, yeah. When he first planted, when I first went to that field, I felt like I'd walked into Eden or something. I walked in, I was eating these things, but we were pulling it up with our hands. I had to help, but it was hard work. It was terrible to do, But so you people are, give yourselves a pat on the back. You are the people who are doing this and actually not talking about it. You're doing it. How many people, even if they didn't say it, must have thought about, what's the point in doing that? It's like putting up an umbrella in a hurricane when you're looking at what's going on, But no, you carried on. You didn't believe anybody else what they were saying. You just knew that the truth is that stuff has to come back now. It has to, because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If it could single-handedly turn this planet around, and you can't, like the captains on the ship analogy, you can't just wait for someone else to do it. You've got to step forward now. I say this to people a lot. Step forward now. We're doing a talk tomorrow that's being full. We'll be talking about that. You've got to step forward now. You can't leave it to people like Catherine and Barry, with their bleeding hands on the farm, and you've got to help them. You've got to come forward and help them. And if you can't come forward and do the manual work, donate some money, Okay, what's a few quid? What's a £5? What's a tenner? You can spend how much you spend on your wine every night, or your chips, or your this, or your that,
Yeah.
If everyone can donate some money to your tremendous crowdfunding, which is under there on the bottom there, it will be an amazing thing that'll happen. It'll be a template for other people to follow. It's like, oh my God, they did it. They actually did it. And now, come on, more people do it. And the tide will change, because the more people who want, I used to say, it's antibacterial in housing products. My God, we don't all realize we're surrounded by poison, aren't we?
Totally.
How about quick thing? Sorry, Barry. How about the fuel for cars? What happens with that?
Well, I mean, that was made by Henry Ford, done and dusted and driven, decades ago. It can be done. It's still being, hasn't been developed enough, I don't feel. But it can be done, and we could be driving on hemp fuel, which is. That's on the scope of that is hard to imagine, and the impact of that is hard to imagine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, and there's enough, the building material and the plastics and that impact. But when we get to that level, that will be really exciting as well.
And will you be squeezing oil out as like the thick black oil which I buy? Which I use. Will you be doing that or not?
That is produced from the flowers. That's just extracting the cannabinoid, from the trichomes on the flower.
Right.
That's the resin glands on the outside of the flower and the leaf. So it's extracting that off the plant. At the moment, you're not allowed to process the flower in any way, or the leaf in this country. Even on a hemp license that I have now, we're not allowed to use the flower or extract from the flower at all on that license.
We're not allowed, right? I love that. We're not, as little girls and boys, we're not allowed. Ooh, sorry. Oh God, I could scream. Yeah, go on.
But you can import it by the pallet load from Europe. Where somebody else has done that in Europe, and you can import it and then sell it on your website.
On eBay.
Okay, all right. So now, wow. The guy I buy off and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying here and giving him a shout, is a gentleman in Glastonbury. I go up there reasonably regularly, and I get it off him. A guy called Free. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Is it Hemp? What's the name of his shop? Do you know?
Hemp in Avalon.
Yeah.
Hemp in Avalon. Got to give him a shout. He always gives me a great deal when I go in there. Right? And he's so enthusiastic. I love it. And I come away there, and me and Louise are squirting it on our fingers and putting it under our tongue. We've probably taken too much, but I'm not driving around stoned. I feel great, and I'm not intoxicated in any way, shape, or form. And it just makes me feel lovely, and it's not psychosomatic. Go on.
Yeah, in your body. Yeah.
It makes you feel great. It really does.
It makes you feel how you should feel.
Yeah.
That's how you should feel. You're taking in cannabinoids that your body should be producing itself. Wow. Because of our lifestyle and our diets and our whatevers, our bodies are not functioning the way it should. So when we take in this plant cannabinoid, we actually start to feel how we should feel, how we could feel, in a more balanced, feel-good, relaxed, gentle way.
And when I take that oil, Brady, is that also giving me minerals and vitamins as well, or not?
It depends how it's extracted. But in a raw extract, it usually takes out some of that from the plant as well. Yeah.
Wow, God, grief alive. It's just wonderful. And here's a funny thing, I just got to say this, we're running out of time as usual, 53 minutes. It just goes so quick with amazing people like you two. I'll tell you what, I want to just say, look, if you don't want to, everyone out there, when you're wiping your bum, don't you want to feel good about it, Every time, every time you wipe your bum, you can smile and think, I'm saving the planet. Yippee! Come on, guys.
Yeah. And the thing with the analogy with the boat, we do have some very crazy captains just hell-bent on, whatever. But there's always an option, I feel. There's always a choice. There's always something you can do. There's always a life raft.
Yes.
And your choice whether you can notice that and take the plunge and just jump off that ship and jump into the life raft. And
beautiful.
Hemp is here and it's always been here for that purpose, for us to actually take a different direction and make a choice, and make a self-empowered choice, to be self-empowered, to be self-sufficient, to look after ourselves, to eat well, to build well, to live well. We have that choice, and hemp at the moment is that life raft, and you can simply just walk up to it, throw it in the water, and jump in. It is really easy. So we have that choice.
That's beautifully said, Barry. My God, because I love that analogy, and I've written a book, and in my book, which I'll be showing off about in a minute before we go, but we only got a few minutes left. But in my book, I say that the psychotics captains on the ship are shouting down through the pipe, "Stoke the boilers, turn right, turn left," and we're all down there doing it. How about if all the people down below say, "Nope,
Yeah.
sorry, we're not stoking the boilers with that crap anymore.
Yeah.
Send some hemp down and we'll shovel it in." Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it would work.
So look,
Sure.
go on. Listen, we're running out of time. We've got just a few minutes left. I just want, before you go, or before we close, I just want, if you can think of anything that you want to say to anybody to inspire them or enthuse about anything before we go that we haven't talked about, Barry and Catherine. You're wonderful people. I respect you so amazingly. And if there's anything you want to say about anything at all, just rattle away now. It's got a few minutes left.
I mean, I think for me, just a very simple thing is that we're not special or anything. I don't really know how we've achieved this, but somehow it's kind of happened. There's been lots of hurdles, and it's just about taking small steps. And sometimes it can feel really massive, but actually, if you just follow it through and you don't give up and you just take small steps, and you don't get totally disempowered by
all the processes that you might have to go through. Yeah,
and also by other people. Other people say, "Oh no, you can't do that, and you can't do this." Well, just you can.
Take the next step.
You can, and we've just found that if you just follow it through and you follow that, I think it's that energy, like you were saying, we're being pushed along. You follow that and you have a trust in that, then you will achieve things.
Beautiful.
You will achieve
and even if that pushing you is just to find out and do some research, just do that. Go and learn about it. Go and educate yourself. Just go and do some research and follow where that takes you.
Oh wow!
Learn so much to explore. You'll find some way.
Totnes is a great place for that, and that's why I like living here, and it's an honour to be your neighbours, believe me. And I just want to say one thing about empowerment now before we go. I was very delighted the other day, the moronic psychopaths that supposedly run this world, but they don't. We're going to be bringing in 5G soon, if we let them, and if that comes in, we're in serious trouble. They put a mast up down by the school here by Dartington, a big mast, and I had the delightful news that everyone was going to walk out with their kids. If you put that up, we're out of here, yeah? And they walked out. There was a big demonstration, and I've got people coming in my shop here in my studio saying if they don't take it down, we'll angle grind it down, yeah? And it was the same with Costa Coffee. They were going to come in here. I go to Costa Coffee, but I was one of the ones, I have to admit, I'm sorry to say it, that said they're bound to come in Costa Coffee, but my God, the people in Totnes said no, and they didn't come in. So it's us that have got the power, really, isn't it, with our own decisions, right? Final words, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it needs a sustained holding your ground on that, especially with this mast and things like that. It needs to be sustained and carried forward to really hold that ground. Like, this is not acceptable. And
smart meters. There's some people, community saying we're not having it now, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And these are changes that are happening. They really are. There's stuff in the news, all the about the CBD in the news. Things are really changing, and we can go with that and we can contribute to that. And it's really important that if you feel strongly about that you do that. It doesn't have to be like massive, you don't have to completely change your life or whatever, but just small things which will lead to much bigger things. And if everyone did that, then that's be amazing.
Yeah. And the responsibility, I know I keep going on about it, I've got to close you in a minute, but really the responsibility that people have got, you're standing up, you're taking responsibility for custodians of the blooming planet, right? You're here now, you're doing your bit, and people can look back and say, well, God, those people really did something, they really did make a difference, they did stand up and say, we want to be counted. It's us that change the future, so I want to thank you so much, both of you, for being you, Catherine and Barry. It's really inspiring me, honestly, because I'm trying to do a lot of things myself. My partner's got an organic clothing business. We're doing lots of things. She's got a eco housing project going on. We're trying to offer houses for 30,000 quid. There's a lot going on. But, you know, I'll tell you about that again. I haven't told you about that before. But look, thank you so much, both of you, for speaking to me and for being you and, you know, for making a difference. And can people contact you if they want to speak to you about it personally or not?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Where can they get hold of you?
I mean, have you got our website up
Have
there?
you
It's
got
got
our
our
email address?
emails.
We've got https://igg.me/ad/the hemp avatar, yeah?
That's going to go to the crowdfunding campaign page.
Right.
And you can get our website from that,
Good.
or our website is simply www.thehempavatar.com. And you can contact us through there.
Right, fantastic.
Our phone number's on there and everything, so that's great. Just give us a ring.
Oh, blooming fantastic. And I'll just jump in and say, listen, everybody, support these amazing people, Catherine and Barry. They're amazing people. They're setting a new trajectory, and more people will follow suit. And it's down to you and down to me and down to us to stand up and be counted now. Because when the chips are down and people look back at history, I want to be one of the ones that said, at least I tried. I didn't just sit there stuffing crisps and gobbling beer every night, you know, which I have been known to do, you know. But so, yeah, and most of all, go to the webpage. I'm just going to put it up again there. It is, you know, there it is with Catherine and Barry. Make a note of that and write that down. Please donate. And it doesn't take a lot of people to get something going. I know the donations are pouring in at the moment already. They need much more than the machine. There's more money that's needed to keep this going, right?
Apparently with crowdfunding, it's actually the first few days that are the most important. So today is the launch. So, you know, if anyone feels so inclined, earlier rather than later would be great.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody that has contributed. It's been amazing.
It's been great already.
Thank you so much. Right, so that's it. I'll close down and say thank you everyone for watching. I've got to show my own book before we go, of course. It's called The Emergency Transformation as Human Beings by me, and it is an emergency. This program proves that. We are in an emergency situation. If we carry on our current trajectory with using the plastics and everything we do, we're going to snuff it, folks. That's it. We're done for. So we've got to change our course, like the ship analogy, and it might have to be mutiny on the Bounty. We'll see. So that's great. Thanks for joining me tonight, everybody. I'll just play us out with the ending. Thank you, Catherine Bauer. Thank you, Barry McCulloch.
Thank you
for your absolutely amazing work. You're amazing people. I love you. All right. Thank you
for what you're doing as well,
thanks,
Jason. Amazing work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's very tiring sometimes, as you know, but we got to try, right? And thank you all, you lovely people listening out there. I love you very much. Please, just be you. Don't hold back being you. The world needs you. Be brave and be a magician without amnesia and step forward. Bless you all. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.